Welcome to Conference USA Football Media Day for 2015. We're coming to you live from our beautiful brand new studios of American Sports Network in West Palm Beach, Florida. I'm Ron Thulin. We'll be with you throughout the day interviewing every Conference USA head coach, along with two players from their respective teams. We're going to start in the West. Afternoon session, we'll go to the teams from the East, but let's start off with one of our favorites. They won the West title this past season, also won their bowl game. We're talking, of course, of Louisiana Tech and their head coach, Skip Holtz. Skip, good to have you here, buddy.
Great to be here.
That time of the year again.
Beautiful facility here. Have the opportunity to be down here.
It's a great facility, and
yes,
the set looks absolutely awesome.
Agreed.
Let's talk about last year, because you won the Zaxby Heart of Dallas Bowl.
Yes.
You did it with Cody Sokol at quarterback.
Right.
He's gone right now, but that was a magical year because I had the first game against Oklahoma, and you showed toughness, even in the loss,
right.
And you told me we're going to be okay.
Well, we learned a lot about our football team in that game, and that's what we talked about in the Oklahoma game. We're going to learn a lot about our team, and as the year went on and we progressed and we got better and better, and just really proud of what those players were able to accomplish. But it was a fun year. It was a magical year. There was a lot of success, and to finish with the momentum from the Heart of Dallas Bowl with a win against Illinois, but yet there's still it was still bittersweet because you still had that loss against Marshall with some unfinished business getting into this season. So it's been a great wave of momentum to ride, but it's also been a huge motivating factor for this team.
Well, what stands out when you look at last year, and there's a lot of statistics we can throw at you, but what stands out, you led the FBS in turnovers forced. You also led in interceptions, plus 19 from 2013 to 2014. Your defense made a big difference last season.
A huge difference. And I think it was the structure, the style of play. Manny Diaz was the defensive coordinator. And then you've got safeties like Kentrell Brice, Xavier Woods, Darius Barnes at corner. Guys that really showed out and did a great job. But you can't have a great secondary with a lot of interceptions unless you got pressure from those front four. And guys like Houston Bates, who we'll have to replace, but Vernon Butler and Vontarius Dorr are back. I like the nucleus, and I think with the new defense coordinator and Blake Baker, who was in the system last year, you're going to see a very similar style of defense with the same terminology. So you'll see these players grow another year in that system.
I just want to touch on the defensive coordinator because basically with Blake taking over, third defensive coordinator in 3 years.
Yep.
Does that confuse the guys, or does the system stay the same?
Well, the system stays the same, which is a big thing that I think that Blake brings to us, is he brings some stability to a group of young men that I think want to be in the same system. And they came to me and it was like, Coach, we don't want to start all over again. We want the same terminology. And Blake was there, and the players are very familiar. Young, energetic, aggressive, go-getter. I think he's going to do a fantastic job with the defense this year.
Well, let's touch on the defense just one more time before we go to the offense, because you mentioned Houston Bates, 10 sacks last season. Who's going to help Vontarius Dorr on the other defensive end, taking Bates' place?
There's a young man, a freshman last year for us, who had 4 sacks in Deldrick Canty, who I think is a really talented young man. He's had a great offseason. I'm looking for huge things for him, and it's certainly hard to replace a Houston Bates as a fifth-year senior, a graduate, and the success that he had. But to have a guy like Canty stepping in there, I think is a very talented young man that I think is going to fill a huge role. And having guys like him and Dorr on the other side, along with a little pressure with the Vernon Butler up the middle, I think will give us a good mix on the D-line.
Obviously, we're going to be talking to Jeff Driscoll, who's going to be the starting quarterback coming up this year in a minute. But I want to talk about your offense, because the workhorse obviously was Dixon at running back.
No doubt.
This young man is so explosive. If you haven't had a chance to see him, not only does he run the ball well, you got to watch him coming out of the backfield.
No, that's one of the things that really we evolved a little bit more last year. He became a bigger threat out of the backfield as a wide receiver. But you can measure Kenneth and look at height, weight, speed, and those things. But the things that really make him special are those intangible things. Right. He plays the game with such a passion, such an energy. You got to tackle him because he's not going down easy, and he's a great competitor. He's had a great offseason, and we were really excited when he came back for his senior year this year. But he's coming back with a mission, and I think he's been working really hard. Looking forward to watching him play this year.
Well, he's got obviously a pretty good quarterback that's going to be calling the signals, and Jeff Driscoll, the transfer from Florida. You and I were chatting last night, and not only does he have a big arm, but he's got a big body, and he's not afraid to use it.
Well, and you look at him, he's got great athleticism in the way that he can run. But what's really impressed me about Jeff is, the way that he's come in and earned this team's respect. He has been incredibly humble. He has worked extremely hard, and I think this team really has great respect for the way that he's come in. But when you look at him athletically and the way he can run and do things, but I've really been impressed watching him reading defenses, throwing the ball, making decisions as we went through spring practice. So I think he's a great talent, and I'm really looking forward to watching him play.
Well, his cupboard is not going to be empty because we already mentioned Dixon, but he also has 3 of probably 3 of the top wide receivers in Conference USA. He's got some guys that are big playmakers.
Well, he does. And going into last year, you've got a guy like Paul Turner, had never played. Carlos Henderson, redshirt freshman, had never played. Trent Taylor, as a freshman, had only played 1 year in a limited role. And all of a sudden, all 3 of those guys have stepped up. And I really think they're taking it to another level and giving us some big play potential, especially out on the perimeter with Paul Turner and Carlos Henderson. And when you've got those type of weapons inside with a guy like Kenneth Dixon, you better have some speed outside to take it over the top. And that was the difference between 2 years ago and last year.
One final question, and this is something that I read, that a quote from you. You said, I'm more concerned about the backup 22 than the starting 22. That, to me, is the biggest question mark of this team.
Well, when you look at a season, everybody talks about who's going to win it. It's a 12-game season, and right now it's an honor to have our name mentioned. People think we're going to be pretty good with some of the returning starters and some of the experience we have coming back. But as Ohio State proved, it took 3 quarterbacks for them to get done what they wanted to get done. And unfortunately, injury is part of this game. And when you look at a 12-game season, you better have some depth and some guys that are ready to step up in key roles. And we got 2 really talented safeties, as we talked about with Kentrell. You're going to be talking to, and Xavier Woods. But what happens if one of those were to get injured? I mean, all of a sudden, a guy like Cedric Cooper, who's just a puppy, he's a freshman right now, but I think is going to be really talented. And how those guys come along and develop, I think, is going to be one of the keys to this season.
Well, you're off the hot seat for a little bit.
Okay, good.
We're going to go over and talk. We're going to go over and talk to the players right now, because we've got a couple of outstanding players. And just taking a look, first of all, Louisiana Tech's first game, that'll be versus Southern on September 5th at 6 o'clock Central Time in their first Conference USA game. This is going to be a high-scoring affair against Western Kentucky. That'll be on September 10th, and that'll be at 7 o'clock. And joining us now, first of all, to my far left, to your far right, is Jeff Driscoll, who's going to be the starting quarterback, the transfer from Florida. And next to him, Kentrell Brice, the safety, led the team in total tackles last year. 2014 also had 4 sacks, 4 fumble recoveries, 5 quarterback hurries, 2 interceptions, and he washed the team's jerseys after games. Okay, Kentrell, we were talking about the defense, first of all. You guys were ball hawking in the games that I had against you. I had a couple of games against you. Your defensive backs, you guys are like missiles out there. Talk about the defensive backs and how you guys all come together.
I mean, we all come together. We do work together, like extra work on the field. And, like guys like Bryson Abraham, Darius Barnes, and Xavier Woods. We're a close-knit group. We all stick together, talk together, we hang together. And, we preach to each other, you know what I'm saying? Be fearless when you see the ball in there. Just go attack it. And the ball is ours for the taking. So that's how we preach for it.
How much is it a point of pride for not only you but the rest of the defense that you led the nation in turnovers, tied for the lead, FBS lead in interceptions? That's a point of pride for your defense, isn't it?
Yes, it's a big point of pride because people normally look at the bigger conferences as in the Power 5 conferences, and they start naming them for having so many accolades, and we're what some people call a small school. So we would like to, put our name on the map and make Louisiana Tech known for having, great players.
One final question. Now, we mentioned, obviously, Xavier Woods. We talked about you. We got to give some love, though, to Darius Barnes and also Bryson Abraham. Come on. I mean, you guys are the stars, okay? They're kind of the second fiddles. But give them some love. Give them some love. Tell us about them.
Darius Barnes, he's great. Like, he's one of the fastest corners I've seen, and I've played with. His change of direction. Everything is so quick and fluent, and like you said, this season, like he had a quiet, but he had 6 interceptions. That's a lot to have in the corner season. And you have Bryson Abraham, phenomenal corner, one of my best friends actually. And we just, he worked so hard this season through the off season, and during the season last year, he made phenomenal plays all over the field.
Good luck this year and stay healthy. Jeff Driscoll joins us now. Jeff, what made you to go to Louisiana Tech following your career at Florida?
Yeah, well, I knew I wanted to get to a situation, a different situation where I would have an opportunity to kind of rebound and go out on a high note. And I wanted to go somewhere where I could, come in and play. That was important for, just 1 year. Somewhere where I could put up some big numbers and somewhere where the team was really close. And, I was able to talk to Cody Sokol, who did the same thing I did the year before, and he said the guys were just unbelievable, worked together, worked hard together, and, he kind of sold it to me. So it's worked out so far, and I'm really excited about where we're going.
Do you think you almost had instant credibility coming in because you played for Florida? Do you think that had any impact on the guys?
You know, I don't really know. I think that they saw me more as a fifth-year senior, somebody who's played before rather than somebody who's just played in the SEC. But being a fifth-year senior quarterback, you're going to be, you know, thrust into a leadership role. And, you know, when I first got to campus, I just wanted to show everybody that I was here to work hard for this season. What's in the past doesn't matter, and just looking forward to growing together with the team that was already really closely knit.
But before I let you go, and you can all take a deep breath because I'm going to say, "Oh, it's finally over."
That's right.
But coming into a new offense, you told me right before we went on, offense is offense.
Yeah.
It really doesn't make a difference to you outside of maybe the terminology. The biggest adjustment offensively for you?
Well, I'm kind of a vet at changing offenses. This will be my fourth one in 5 seasons, so I've gotten pretty good at throwing out the old one and really knowing the new one. But coming in spring has really helped me out to first of all learn the plays, and then over the summer, kind of gel with the guys. So, last year they did a great job of calling games. Watched all the games from last year to see how they call them. What are we going to do in 3rd and short? What are we going to do in the red zone? So I've kind of gotten a feel of how plays are called, and during camp, I just look forward to executing rather than learning.
One thing, have you gone into his closet and made sure there's nothing with a gator on it? Have you done that yet?
Yeah, we talked to it about it.
Oh, you talked to him about it. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. So you got rid of it, right?
Yeah. I left all that at home. I still graduated from there, so
okay.
I'm not totally throwing it out, but for now I'm staying away from that wardrobe.
Gentlemen, best of luck this year. Congratulations on coming to Louisiana Tech. You're going to have a great time playing for Coach, I guarantee it. Gentlemen, thank you so much.
All right, thanks.
We'll be back with more Conference USA Football Media Days after this. Stay with us.